Caitlin Clark just sent a loud and clear message. She wants nothing to do with Brianna Turner.
Brianna Turner signed with the Indiana Fever. You can only imagine how this player feels about the Indiana Fever fan base. She hates your ass.
The Indiana Fever's shocking decision to sign Turner has backfired instantly, and now the tension inside the locker room is boiling over.
So we couldn't have 17.5-point Kennedy Carter because of her history and attitude, but y'all give us jealous-ass 1.2 points per game Brianna Turner? The Fever front office just set this offseason. Pick your locker room pieces wisely.
And this is what Fever president had to say about protecting their locker room.
Those are elements that each player that we have handpicked to be a part of this roster have that. Protect our locker room. Protect the culture that we've got started. That was very intentional.
Turner, who has a history of mocking Fever fans, pushing controversial agendas, and disrespecting Clark's supporters, was the last person the team needed. And guess what? Clark knows it too. But here's where things get even worse. Caitlin Clark hasn't endorsed this move at all. No public welcome, no excitement, absolute silence.
I've called this a activist basketball league, and we signed one of the lead activists. It's unbelievable. Somebody that has vocally talked shit about Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever fans. The outrage is real. Go look at Turner's Twitter X feed, and it is activist central.
And if you think that's a coincidence, think again. The fans are already furious, with many calling for a boycott over Turner's signing. This isn't just a bad roster move. This could be the beginning of a full-blown locker room meltdown. Did the Fever just betray their star player? Is this a calculated attempt to undermine Caitlin Clark's influence? Or did they just make the biggest mistake in franchise history? Let's break it all down.
The Indiana Fever just signed a political activist that could bring in and torch your locker room.
The Indiana Fever's decision to sign Brianna Turner has not only ignited fan outrage, but it has also exposed a major divide inside the locker room, one that centers around Caitlin Clark's silent but undeniable rejection of this move.
So we're supposed to believe this person miraculously loves Caitlin Clark and Indiana Fever fans all of a sudden. There's no way you're going to really sell me on this. This is crazy. Do you want people to spend money on your product? Locker room implosion.
When a team signs a new player, especially one with a strong personality like Turner, there's usually a sense of excitement and camaraderie. But here, dead silence from Caitlin Clark. No warm welcome, no reposts, not even a simple "welcome to the team" post. And that speaks volumes. Why is this important?
Some of y'all are taking the Brianna Turner signing too far. It's one thing to be annoyed, even pissed, but I'm seeing, quote, protect the locker room being used as a dog whistle for thinly veiled racism. If you're white and doing that shit, maybe think about how it looks before you tweet. Hey, it's unbelievable. It really is.
Because Caitlin Clark is the Indiana Fever. She's not just another player, she's the franchise centerpiece. The reason this team sells out arenas, breaks TV records, and is finally relevant. Without her, the Fever are just another struggling WNBA team. But rather than building around her and supporting the momentum she's brought, the Fever front office has dropped a ticking time bomb into the locker room, signing one of the most divisive figures possible.
You can say a lot about Caitlin Clark's politics or whatever, but she's never blatantly come out, directly dogged out anybody on the right.
And it's no secret why this is a problem. Brianna Turner isn't just any WNBA player, she has a history of antagonizing the very fan base that Caitlin Clark brought to the team. Fans remember Turner's past digs at Iowa supporters, her dismissive attitude toward Clark's rise, and her tendency to engage in polarizing social media activism. She's made it clear where she stands, and it isn't with Clark or her supporters.
Does their front office understand exactly what their new fan base is? Look, they just inherited 4 times larger fan base than they ever had before.
So how is this going to play out inside the locker room? Think about this. Caitlin Clark has done everything right since stepping into the WNBA. She's been a consummate professional, focused solely on basketball, avoiding unnecessary drama, and handling the ridiculous amount of cheap shots and unfair treatment thrown her way.
This is the Indiana Fever equivalent of the CNN reporter standing out in front of the burning buildings talking about it's mostly a peaceful protest. Everything behind you is literally burning to the ground.
The last thing she needs is a teammate who brings a toxic energy into the mix. Fans have already noticed that Clark's body language says it all. In past situations, when the Fever brought in a new teammate, there was at least some acknowledgement. But this time, nothing. And that silence isn't just Clark making a personal choice, it's a strategic move. Clark's supporters see this as her way of subtly pushing back against the front office's decision, signaling that she does not approve of Turner's presence on this team. And this isn't just about personal feelings, this is about team culture and chemistry.
They put out the official signing. We have signed Brianna Turner. Welcome to the squad. Is the Indiana Fever literally going to start blocking Caitlin Clark fans?
Clark is known for her strong work ethic, leadership, and dedication to winning. She's not about distractions. She's not about drama. She's about basketball, plain and simple. And now she's being forced to share a locker room with a player who, instead of being a quiet contributor, is known for stirring controversy and making headlines for all the wrong reasons. The question is, how long before this tension boils over?
Turner is a rim protector, high-level rebounder, all-around defensive scorer, two-time All-WNBA first team. Are you kidding me? Hell, just add Cheryl Swoops to the locker room while you're at it.
How long before the unspoken division in the locker room becomes undeniable? Because let's be real, Clark isn't the type to create problems, but she also isn't the type to fake enthusiasm for a move that she clearly doesn't support. And what about the rest of the team? There's no way Caitlin Clark is alone in feeling uneasy about this signing. Players like Aaliyah Boston and Kelsey Mitchell have built a winning culture around hard work and staying focused on the game, not political agendas or social media activism.
Brianna Turner from the Indiana Fever firing shots towards the fan base. Friendly reminder that I am against all forms of discrimination, including racism, sexism, homophobia, misogyny, and transphobia. I often advocate against these discriminatory practices. Feel free to unfollow, mute, or block me if that is bothersome to you. I will not bend the knee or change my online advocacy efforts to appease others. While I anticipate receiving criticism, hostility, and invalidation, I will not tolerate discrimination. I wonder, does that go for you too if you criticize white folks? If I'm not for you, there are about 150 other W players that you can support instead. I have interest in a life outside of my playing career. I do not expect or crave validation from social media. I have low expectations for Twitter, and I'm cognizant that many will reject my takes. You got that right. I literally have an MA in social justice and human rights, so of course I speak up.
The last thing this team needs is a player whose presence alone creates unnecessary division. Let's not forget, Caitlin Clark has already had to deal with jealousy and resentment from WNBA players who don't like the attention she's getting. Now she has to deal with it inside her own locker room?
This player, ironically, is from Texas, and she takes a blatant shot at Texas. My fellow Texans that voted to keep Ted Cruz in office, you will never be forgiven for such heinous crimes against humanity. We love Ted Cruz here. Ted Cruz is overwhelmingly beloved.
That's a disaster waiting to happen. And this all circles back to the main issue. Why would the Fever risk disrupting their team dynamic by bringing in a player who doesn't fit the culture that Caitlin Clark is creating? This isn't just a bad signing, it's a sign of a front office that doesn't understand its own team. Instead of building around their star player, they've brought in a player who could undermine her influence, divide the fan base, and disrupt the locker room.
Brianna Turner right here, two-time all-defensive, but 1.2 points per game? People are saying, well, she'll play 5 minutes. Then why have her on this team?
One thing is clear, Caitlin Clark may not be saying anything publicly, but her actions say everything we need to know. And the fans? They see it too. The Indiana Fever just made a huge mistake, and the fallout is only just beginning.
Not afraid to admit when I'm wrong, I was extremely naive in this election. I thought the American people had standards for who leads us. I assumed that being a felon, having numerous sexual misconduct allegations, and a racist was too much to overlook. Truly bamboozled. Y'all got me for real. She just trashed President Trump.
The Indiana Fever had one job: to build a team around Caitlin Clark that would complement her skill set, reinforce team chemistry, and keep the momentum going. Instead, they brought in Brianna Turner, a player who not only doesn't fit the team's needs, but also goes against everything the Fever fan base stands for.
This is crazy as hell. They let the wolf into the hen house. There goes the locker room. What are we doing?
So why doesn't she belong here? Let's break it down. 1. Brianna Turner's history of controversy.
Hell no, cut this crazy lady before the season starts. She's worse than Bronny James. Ken Swift, there's no way she's a fit on this team culturally.
Before we even talk about basketball, we need to address the elephant in the room. Brianna Turner is not just a player, she's a polarizing activist who has made it clear where she stands on certain issues. The problem isn't that she has opinions. The problem is that she has used those opinions to alienate the very fan base that now has to support her. Turner's social media history is filled with controversial takes, from mocking conservative values to insulting Trump supporters and even taking subtle jabs at Caitlin Clark fans.
She had to be negative about this? Respectfully, I'm confused. Is this what runners-up typically does now? Haven't seen this before, but kudos to them.
This is not speculation. This is fact. She has called out fans for their beliefs, and now she expects those same fans to cheer for her? Take, for example, her history of blocking Fever supporters even before she was signed. This is unprecedented. What kind of professional athlete goes out of their way to shut out the very people who buy tickets, wear the jerseys, and financially support the team? That alone tells you everything you need to know about her attitude toward the Fever fan base.
Right, and that's what a lot of these women are doing, is they feel like what we have done for this game, this young player has come into our game, and she's getting way more respect and all that stuff than we are. As she should. The young girl is a baller. The young girl has people watching because of the way she can shoot this basketball like Steph Curry. Steph Curry can't dunk. Steph Curry don't do none of that in the game. He can probably dunk by himself, but he don't really do none of that in the game. He is a shooter, and fans tune in to see Steph Curry. When I look at Caitlin Clark, fans are tuning in to watch her, and you know who that's helping? Everybody else. It's helping the Asia Wilsons. It's helping everybody else, the Plums, all that. It's helping all of them, the Tarasis.
And let's not forget, she once mocked Iowa fans for celebrating their runner-up season, making a snide remark about how she had never seen such a thing before. That was a direct shot at Caitlin Clark and the Iowa fan base. How do you go from mocking Clark's supporters to expecting them to support you?
What is she doing wrong? What more do you want from Caitlin Clark? Seriously, what more do you want from her? She's focusing on the game. She lifted her team up, got them to the playoffs, won Rookie of the Year, and then also is denouncing racial tensions when she's asked about it. I'm sorry, I don't see anything more that Caitlin Clark should have done or could have done. Listen, if people want to portray and paint the narrative that there are racial tensions in the WNBA as a result of Caitlin Clark, I would say that's their own problem. I think Caitlin Clark is doing the right thing, rising above all of the crap that she's had to endure. The amount of fouls committed on Caitlin Clark higher than any other player, flagrant fouls committed on Caitlin Clark higher than any other player. Caitlin Clark was worried about playing the game, and that is why she got Rookie of the Year. She was not worried about the BS.
2. Brianna Turner adds, no real value to the Fever. Now let's talk basketball, because even if we set aside the controversy, the question remains, what does Turner actually bring to the Fever? The answer? Not much. She's a defensive specialist, sure, but guess what? The Fever didn't need her. There were plenty of other defensive-minded players available, players who could contribute without the baggage, without the controversy, and without dividing the locker room.
Most points by a point guard in a season in WNBA history. Most double-doubles by a rookie guard in WNBA history. Most points by a rookie in WNBA history. Most assists by a rookie in the history of the WNBA. First WNBA rookie to record 2 triple-doubles. First triple-double by a rookie in WNBA history. First triple-double in Fever history. The first player to be named WNBA Player of the Month and Rookie of the Month in the same month. First player in WNBA history with 20 or more points, 15 or more assists, and 5 or more rebounds in a game. She won Rookie of the Month 4 times, Eastern Conference Player of the Week 3 times, single season rookie record for assists, single season rookie record for 3-pointers, single game record for assists 19, franchise record for most double-doubles, 3-pointers, career 10 or more assists in a game, franchise record for most career 10 or more assists in a game. Fastest WNBA player to reach 100 3-pointers. She did it in 34 games, most assists by a rookie in a WNBA All-Star game for which she received the most fan votes ever, 700,000 of those. Fastest player to reach 350 points and 150 assists to start a season regardless of years in the league. People will say, pay more attention to the other folks. Like, she couldn't do it herself. You know, LeBron has teammates, Jordan had teammates. I understand.
But instead, the front office chose Turner, a player who averaged just 1.2 points per game. Yes, you heard that right, 1.2 points per game. So what's the logic here? If the Fever really needed defensive depth, why not go for someone with a stronger overall presence? Someone who can actually contribute on both ends of the floor? Instead, they signed a player who will likely spend most of her time on the bench, causing more drama off the court than helping on it. And this is where things get really suspicious. Why was Turner even signed in the first place? Was it really about basketball? Or was it a move to push a certain agenda? Because if the goal was to help the team, this signing makes zero sense.
I think that experiencing it, I love Caitlin Clark fans, but Caitlin Clark fans is different. They like C-Square, shout out to the gang, like different. They are very passionate people and like they gonna ride or die. Like
listen, Caitlin Clark is a god to her friends. She does no wrong. Do not play. Do not play with her fans.
Let's just say C-Square, I'm happy I'm on the right end of it.
We on the right end of the stick,
man,
baby, because they
hate to be.
Listen,
man, because
they love us right now. But if we go right and left, it's over for us.
Yeah. Caitlin Clark fans, I love you back, I promise. Please don't.
Yeah.
Like her fans. But like, the one thing I would say about Caitlin Clark fans that I can't appreciate, they'll go anywhere she goes.
Oh, they gonna travel. She gonna travel. And right there. Right there
I just
with
think
her.
like it's super dope though, because it's like they would literally go anywhere she go, and so she's built that kind of platform. I'm like, damn, that's lit.
The front office's disrespect for Caitlin Clark's leadership, the Fever, have something special in Caitlin Clark, a young superstar who has completely revolutionized the franchise. She's not just a great player, she's a leader, someone who sets the tone for the entire team. And yet, instead of building a roster that complements her skills and supports her leadership, the front office made a move that undermines her influence. This isn't just about Clark's on-court abilities, this is about the culture she's creating. She has brought unity, focus, and a winning mentality to a team that desperately needed it. The last thing this team needs is division, but by bringing in Turner, that's exactly what the Fever have done. Fourth, was this signing a deliberate move to challenge Caitlin Clark's influence? This is the question that fans are asking. Was this just a clueless move by the front office, or was it something more calculated? What Turner brought in to be a direct counterbalance to Caitlin Clark's growing power? Think about it. The Fever's rise has been entirely because of Clark. She has brought in new fans, boosted ratings, and turned this team into a WNBA powerhouse. But some people in the league don't like that. They don't like that Clark has become the face of women's basketball, and they certainly don't like that she has a massive loyal fan base that backs her up. So what better way to push back against Clark's influence than by bringing in a player who actively opposes the people who support her? A player who doesn't just play basketball, but pushes an ideology that directly clashes with Clark's fan base? If that's what's happening here, then this isn't just a bad signing. It's an attack on the Fever's own success. The front office should be protecting their star, not throwing obstacles in her path.
Caitlin Clark actually reportedly inquired as to whether or not opposing teams could be paid more money due to her having the ability to sell out road games, right? Because of her star power. She is not in the game merely to boost her own persona. And the Indiana Fever president, Allison Barber, revealed this request made by Clark during the season. Listen.
After a few away games and all of the sellouts, Caitlin asked the WNBA if they would pay spot bonuses to the away team players. She said, wow, we're making all this new revenue, and I would like the away team to benefit from that. Could they get a spot bonus? So that's the heart of Caitlin Clark. I mean, that's a classy, amazing person.
5. The locker room chemistry is already at risk. Let's be real. This is going to create problems. Even if Caitlin Clark remains professional, the tension will be there. Turner's presence alone is enough to make things uncomfortable, and it's only a matter of time before it starts affecting team dynamics. How long before we start hearing rumors of conflict? How long before the media spins this into a bigger issue? And most importantly, how long before the Fever regret this decision? Because make no mistake, if this backfires, it won't be Brianna Turner who takes the blame. It will be the Indiana Fever front office, and they might not recover from it. If the Indiana Fever thought Caitlin Clark fans would stay silent about this signing, they were dead wrong. The backlash against Brianna Turner's arrival has exploded, and now the Fever are facing a massive revolt from their own supporters. Fans are not just criticizing the move. Many are outright refusing to support the team as long as Turner remains on the roster. And let's be honest, the Fever can't afford to alienate the very people who saved their franchise. 1. Caitlin Clark. Fans are pushing back hard. From the moment the news broke that Brianna Turner was joining the Fever, fans immediately took to social media to voice their outrage. The reaction wasn't just disappointment, it was fury. The comments were brutal. This is the worst signing in franchise history. Turner has blocked Fever fans. How can she represent us? I'm done supporting this team until they get rid of her. It didn't take long for #BoycottFever to start trending, with thousands of Caitlin Clark supporters declaring that they refuse to spend another dollar on this team if Turner remains on the roster. Fans who are buying jerseys, selling out arenas, and tuning into every game are now saying enough. And here's the real problem for the Fever. These aren't just any fans.
Fair enough, like if Steph Curry showed up somewhere, there would be more posts about Caitlin Clark showing up there. There are levels to fame, and the level of fame Caitlin Clark is at might be up there with the highest levels there are.
These are Caitlin Clark's fans, and they are the reason this team is even relevant right now. They are the ones who filled the seats, shattered TV viewership records, and made the Fever a must-watch team overnight. Without them, the Fever go back to irrelevance. And this isn't an empty threat. Fans are already canceling ticket orders, refusing to buy team merchandise, and vowing to stop watching Fever games. The impact is real, and it could be devastating for the franchise if they don't address this fast. 2. The Fever are risking everything for a player who brings nothing. What makes this even worse is that the Fever aren't even getting anything valuable in return. If they had made a controversial move for a superstar player, maybe there would be some logic behind it. But let's be real. Brianna Turner is not a game changer. She's a defensive role player who barely contributes offensively. She averaged 1.2 points per game, which is laughable compared to what the Fever actually need to improve their roster. The team desperately needs more scoring options to support Caitlin Clark, and instead they brought in a politically divisive figure who is better known for social media activism than basketball. So why do this? Why risk blowing up the locker room, losing fans, and damaging the franchise over a player who will likely sit on the bench most of the season? It makes no sense, unless this was never about basketball in the first place.
jealousy and envy and delusion all mixed together. You have no idea what you're talking about. You're delusional. People are watching these games because of Caitlin Clark. Oh boy, if I say what I really think, these black women and these feminist white women are not going to sleep with me. And I may lose my job. They're going to come after my job. We're not in position to say, shut up.
36 million she drove to Indianapolis just by showing up as a rookie and making history. And so I understand her point of view. She wants to probably let other athletes shine. And she also says, like, it's earned, not given. There are other people that can use that spotlight to compete as well. So I think Caitlin, she moves because she knows people follow her no matter where she goes. And she's very strategic about dictating where her value is.
3. The front office is playing a dangerous game. The Fever front office should be terrified right now because they are on the verge of ruining everything Caitlin Clark built for them. Just months ago, they were struggling to sell tickets, barely getting any media attention, and playing in near-empty arenas. Then Caitlin Clark arrived, and suddenly they became the hottest team in the league. Their games were being broadcast on ESPN primetime. They had 16,000-plus fans at every game, and they were being talked about on every major sports show in the country. And now, they are on the verge of throwing it all away. Because here's the truth. Clark's fans don't need the Fever. They are here for her, not the front office. If the Fever continue to disrespect their own fan base, those fans will walk away and the team will crash back down to irrelevance. And let's be honest, if Caitlin Clark ever gets fed up with this nonsense and demands a trade, the Fever are finished. Think about it. If Clark ever says, I don't want to be here anymore, do you think the Fever survive that? Do you think the team still gets sold-out crowds? Do you think ESPN keeps putting their games in primetime? Absolutely not. The Fever should be doing everything in their power to keep Clark happy, not forcing her to deal with unnecessary distractions like Brianna Turner. But instead, they are risking everything to bring in a player who is actively causing division among the fans and the team.
Just have nothing but great things to say about who she is as a person. Just so welcoming and so warm as an individual that she can have a conversation with anybody. She's cut from the same cloth as me in that regard. You know what? Us Midwesterners, we tend to just, accept everybody with open arms. She was so kind to my family and everyone in the suite when she came to KC. So huge fans of Caitlin Clark.
The fallout could be disastrous for the WNBA. This isn't just bad for the Fever, it's bad for the entire WNBA. The league has been struggling for years to gain mainstream attention, and Caitlin Clark single-handedly changed that. She brought in millions of new fans, got the WNBA record-breaking ratings, and turned regular season games into must-watch events. The league should be doing everything possible to protect and promote Clark, but instead, they are allowing situations like this to unfold, situations that push fans away instead of bringing them in. The WNBA cannot afford to alienate the very people who are finally paying attention to the league. If this situation spirals out of control and Clark's fans turn away from the Fever and the WNBA entirely, the league is going to regret it. 5. Can the Fever fix this before it's too late? The Fever are now at a crossroads. They have two choices. Ignore the backlash, keep Brianna Turner on the team, and watch as fan support collapses, locker room tension builds, and Caitlin Clark quietly distances herself from the franchise. Or admit they made a mistake, cut their losses, and move forward with a roster that actually supports their star player and respects the fan base that made this team relevant. The choice should be obvious, but will the Fever front office have the courage to admit they screwed up? One thing is for sure, Caitlin Clark's fans are watching closely and they aren't going to let this slide. The longer the Fever ignore the warning signs, the worse this is going to get. If they don't take action soon, they could end up losing everything.
Caitlin Clark's popularity is tied to her whiteness. What Nike and Caitlin Clark are known for as of right now is the fact that they have set on Caitlin Clark as what is their most valuable asset.
The Indiana Fever just made a disastrous miscalculation, and now they are scrambling as the backlash continues to explode. The message from Caitlin Clark's fans is loud and clear. They reject Brianna Turner and everything she brings to this team. The Fever had a golden opportunity to build around their superstar, create a winning culture, and strengthen their relationship with the fans who made them the most talked about team in the WNBA. But instead, they made a reckless decision that could destroy everything. And let's be real, this won't just go away. Fans are furious. The calls for a boycott are getting louder. People who were once excited to support the Fever are now saying they won't buy tickets, won't watch games, and won't spend another dime on this franchise. So now the Fever are at a crossroads. They can either double down, ignore the backlash, and watch their own fan base turn against them, or they can correct their mistake, remove Turner from the roster, and send a message that they are serious about protecting their team, their chemistry, and their star player. And let's not forget, the person who matters most in all of this is Caitlin Clark. She hasn't said a word about this signing, and that says everything. The Fever are playing with fire, and if Clark ever gets fed up and decides this isn't the team for her, then the franchise is finished. So what happens next? Will the Fever admit their mistake and cut their losses? Or will they ignore the warning signs and risk alienating the fans who built them up? One thing is for sure, Caitlin Clark's fans won't forget this, and if the Fever don't fix this fast, they might end up losing everything. What do you think? Did the Fever just make the biggest mistake in franchise history? Will Caitlin Clark take a stand against Brianna Turner? And will the fans' rejection force the team to backtrack? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll keep bringing you the latest on this explosive situation. See you next time.
Regular season viewership, it grew by 20% in 2023. It's grown by 180% now, which means it would take another 5 or 6 years to do what Caitlin Clark has done. So between draft day viewership, which is up 400% to 40%, between ticket sales, which is up 93% to 16%, between regular game viewership, which is up 180% to 20%, what Caitlin Clark has done is grown the WNBA exponentially. She did in 5 weeks what would have taken 5 years. And as it pertains to draft viewership, she did in 5 days what would have taken 5 years.